Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth, Logos means study or science, Sattology means science of truth, study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which is science of fake lie imagination, study of fake lie imagination. Why I repeated fresh in every show, that was a question by some of your audiences. Just to remind you, don't use mythology for Vedic culture. And I do it live every time. There's not a pre-recorded message. So I have a very, very special guest. I personally call him Rishi, Muni, researcher, and would say, the Vyas Gaddi pe baithe hue. And some of you they may not like it, but you have to learn to respect serious research or dedicated person. So without delay, let us welcome my good friend and researcher, Sri Nilesh Nilkant Oak.
Namaskar, Aditya ji. Always excited to be here. We never know, at least I never know what subject we may get into. Like we may have a subject on our mind or my mind. But this is the kind of open discussion that I love. It can be a very open, free format sometime. And we can explore various subjects that usually we don't get to when we focus on a specific subject. So happy to be here.
So, Nilesh, there is a very big controversy going on, started from Western academics and coming to the Indian politicians. And I'll also give a hint about the Indian politicians. Their great grandfather or grandfather was engaged in Bharat Ek Khoj, and now they are still searching for Bharat. And then they create a new controversy. Like the liquid and liquidity, they're trying to make a difference in liquid and liquidity. So, Hindu and Hindutva means the same thing. What is your view on their, first of all, family lineage? And the second is, what are they telling to the people?
Yeah. Well, first thing, whoever is raising it, and you're mentioning a specific group or specific individuals right now, but that, as you said, it started in the West here, right? America, the land of inventions. So that is America's latest invention. See, America is struggling in terms of making inventions which are truly useful to humanity. America has done a great job, by the way. The smartphones and computers and aeroplanes and just amazing thing. But in the last few years, I think the postmodernists are controlling it. The whole leftist brigade in all different forms, different names, hiding under different names. So the true innovation has frankly not happening. It is happening in pockets. So therefore, these things are coming. These are now innovations are happening in humanities. In Hindutva versus Hinduism, or Aurangzeb was like a great king kind of nonsense. That is what is going on. So yes, it came from here and going there. What do I think of it? Well, I can always add something of my own definition, and that I will be very happy to do. But let's take a seat back. And in some sense, I am now people may not agree with me, but I'm happy that these bozos, whether in the West or their lackeys in India, are bringing these subjects up. Because for most part, the challenges of living in India are enormous, the space and the resources and pollution and all that. So a lot of the time gets spent in basic necessities of life, even just to get the vegetables from the market, right? So many people, maybe because of it, I'm not defending their laziness or whatever, but much of the time goes there in these basic necessities. So many of the Indians may not have a time to think, especially the educated Indians, so-called educated, the academic degree holders. The issues like this actually provides a platform for them to wake up from their slumber if they choose to. Now, they may still choose to be in their laziness and tamas, that is their choice. Then, hey, you made the choice. So when they bring these subjects like Hindutva versus Hinduism, because many people, those who are under this whole confusion of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, everyone is like so affectionate about Hinduism. People think India is great. This is a very wrong conception that people are under. India is great, but doesn't necessarily mean people even know about it.
That's
Right? So when these subjects come up, I think it's a wake-up call. Like somebody in academia, using the power of academia, can create instant stupidity, instant BS out of something that is a common sense to anyone, any Indian, any Hindu, and anyone who understands basics of a language. Right? So you know what you call, just like you say, liquidity. Okay, but there is liquidity is a different than liquid. These are the kind of things happens in postmodern type of nonsense. So that is being brought up. I mean, this is what the issue you're raising. I have seen it, and not that I deliberately go looking for them, but in social media, few videos come. So yesterday I saw video of, I saw few videos in last few weeks. I think it was Shivrajji Chauhan, like the MP chief minister, I think. And
yeah.
I think some journalist was asking a question about this same Hinduism, Hindutva, and he gave a beautiful response. Right on the money. I would say that is what is required. So Hindutva, like, that essence or something, but people have talked about it. So I will not add my definition. I will say I'm pleased that this gives us a chance for people to wake up and say, don't take anything for granted.
Yes.
If you don't do your karma, if you don't do your tapasya, you will lose this. So if you really care for it, if you are really proud of it, and you think from a humanity perspective that this needs to sustain, this needs to not only survive, but prosper, then people have to find how they spend their 24 hours. If they need to reduce the amount of sleep, then let them do it. If they have to reduce the time on social media, smartphone, they have to reduce it. If they're wasting their time just doing gup shop, whatever, they have to reduce it. They have to take it to tapasya. So I think there is a much positive that can come out of it, depending on how we respond to it.
No, very well put it. And also the debate on Hindutva versus Hinduism is a good debate right now. It also tells us a message that colonization has never ended. Still continuing through our minds, through Bollywood and media and everywhere else. The one of the things which comes to the mind, you mentioned the point of karma. Now, the moment you mentioned karma and the types of karma, now see, Bhagavad Gita is a golden benchmark for judging whether the philosophy is right or wrong, or what is asuric and what is devi. But so, instead of judging everything from Bhagavad Gita, we try to get lost in try to judge from the whole Veda. How practical is that? Because Veda is so huge. To search a specific reference is like an impossible task in Veda. Just from the Sam Veda perspective, there are 1,000 samhitas in Sam Veda. Some is treatises, like the whole big chapters are there in 1,000. But if you consider Bhagavad Gita as a summary, then easy karma definition is there. What is your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, so great question you asked. Like instead of just going to Bhagavad Gita, why not go to Vedas? People will say, hey, you'll get original knowledge, maybe elaborate knowledge. Directionally, maybe true. The problem is those people who would suggest that, I'd like to say most of them, I'm speculating, most of them, but I feel confident in speculating that most of them have not seen Vedas. Because if you just take Rigveda, for example, but that stands true for Yajurveda and Samaveda, as you say, even Atharvaveda. If you open Rigveda and you start reading it, you say, what am I reading?
That's right.
It is so ancient that we don't even understand what it is saying, not without the help of intermediate people, right? Many of the rishis and their commentaries. Now, the challenge is when we look at the commentaries, say there is a Sayana Bhashya, Okay, like from few hundred years ago. Then there are other commentaries. I mean, Sattology has commented on it. There are English translation. Those are humorous. I mean, if I want sometime humor, I would. My good friend Dr. Shiva Shastri does that too. Actually, when we were on another forum before, few years ago, just we want some humor. We will quote something from Rigved, and he will also quote somebody's Western Indologist translation, and we would just roll on the floor laughing. It used to be that kind of a bad translation. But to be fair to even the people in the West who were trying to translate it, Veda is not easy to translate. And that is why many other granthas were written. So first, to understand that the Brahmanas were written, then when it was thought that we are not even understanding that, then Aranyakas were written, making it more philosophical point of view, understanding the philosophical aspect. You see, Veda, we use the word paroksha and aparoksha. Okay, but as an English translation, if you want to go, like Veda speaks indirectly. Okay, so for example, and Bhagavad Gita speaks directly. Why Bhagavad Gita? Because for some intelligence, indirect advice does not work. I'll give you a very household example in my house.
True.
My wife complains, Ashwini complains, that when I talk to my children, okay, for our discussion, I'll say I talk like Vedas, So I will say one should minimize one's sugar intake. one should minimize one's junk. Where we should always try to minimize our junk or what we eat, something like that. One should exercise, and Ashwini will say the kids are not going to understand that way. They need to be said, now stop what you are doing, get here and do 50 Surya Namaskar. No other discussion until then. That is the kind of direct language is what Bhagavad Gita speaks. Now, Bhagavad Gita also has become a bit of a durbodh, unintelligible to us because it's 7,500 years ago that was spoken, and in between, a lot of time has gone by and the words get additional meaning. So to summarize, Veda speaks indirectly. Veda, in English language, we will say Veda talks in a passive voice. Let that be done. It is a good idea to do such a thing. Whereas Bhagavad Gita says, do it. Right? I mean, you see this whole discussion, Krishna and Arjun. Krishna does not mince words. Arjun says something, for example, take the just last point, say Dhyana Yoga, 6th chapter. As soon as Krishna emphasizes that you have to focus, man, what is your objective? Why we are here on the battlefield? Because these guys have done all kinds of bad things. Now just focus. You have to kill them, destroy them. That's what it is. And Arjuna is giving different lectures on philosophy, right? That's why Krishna is asking him to focus. Then when he says that, Arjuna says, Krishna asked him to focus. Arjuna says, oh, but that's very difficult because mind is wavering. And then Krishna says, yeah, that is true, but Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena, it can be done. So Krishna doesn't mince words. Krishna does not take any excuses. Right. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita is it's easily accessible to us, very useful. It's part of Mahabharata, which is a Pancham Veda. Mahabharata is written to make Vedas easy and understandable, digestible for us.
No, you mentioned a good point here, because there are two commentaries on Veda. One is the Bhagavad Puran, which is a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. And the sequence is given. The last shloka of Vedanta Sutra is the first shloka of Mahabharata. And the Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. And the again the first shloka of Mahabharata is this one, and the second for the Vedanta Sutra. So the first mantra of Bhagavad Puran is somewhere similar to the last mantra of Vedanta Sutra, and the first mantra of Mahabharata, I'll have to correct because I got confused. The first mantra of Mahabharata is the last mantra of Veda. And now which Veda I do not know, last or second last. And the first mantra of Mahabharata is also in the Bhagavad Puran also, in the second chapter. So that's how they are all connected to each other, and that's why we can easily say one is a continuation of the other. But only thing is that Pancham Veda, or Vaishampayan calls it Pancham Veda, has more historical references than any
Correct.
other book. Bhagavad Puran doesn't have that many historical references, like the astronomical positions, all those things are not there,
Right.
because the message is completely different. Message is on towards the yoga side, bhakti
And
side,
bhakti, yeah. Emphasis of Bhagavata is on the bhakti.
bhakti side.
Now, you see, when it comes to Mahabharata, it is actually Mahabharata itself internally says what is it that is there that is not in that is there in Mahabharata, which is can be found outside, which is to
Uh,
say everything is there in Mahabharata. So it is not very easy, and in fact, it is very courageous to say what Mahabharata emphasizes on. But I would still say Mahabharata's emphasis is on the karma. In the that is not to take away anything. I mean, the Bhagavad
True.
Gita is the whole bhakti, but Bhagavata is a dedicated to bhakti, and therefore it doesn't emphasizes on the historical references. Like Tulsidas Ramayana
It's more
is
bhakti.
again emphasis on the bhakti.
Bhakti
Therefore,
side.
historical references you cannot go to Tulsi Ramayana.
Not important. Not,
And you cannot go because they are not there in Tulsi
not
Ramayana. For that, you have to go to Valmiki Ramayana, right?
yes.
It is the same way. I don't know if you remember the first verse of Mahabharata, but I'm just guessing. I mean,
Naranam namaskritya.
Narayana Namaskruti you're talking.
Dharm
Okay.
Chavan Rottamam. Yeah.
Okay,
Devim
okay. So I don't know
Saraswati.
which Vedas has that, because I was thinking as you said that Yajurved ends with Ishavasya Upanishad.
Yes. Chapter 40.
And, 40, 44, depending on which version you're looking
Yeah.
at. Very correct. Yeah. And so, therefore, I thought like maybe that's kind of a beginning, but maybe not. Yeah. Okay.
The so one more point, like the ashram, one ashram is very important.
Hmm.
So Mahabharata appeals to grahastha ashram more,
Hmm.
because you need to have more practical life, you need to have family and everything else.
Hmm.
But Bhagavad Puran focuses on vairagya,
Hmm.
brahmacharya or sannyasi. So most of the sannyasis will quote on Bhagavad Puran,
Correct.
because
Correct.
that is the ultimate goal of life, and also mukti, if you want to focus on moksha.
Yeah.
But Mahabharat gives you, like, within your family life also you can attain it.
Yes.
It's more practical, just like Ramayana. Ramayana is also like itihas. By any ordinary man can also attain the highest goals of life, which even the sannyasi can get or brahmachari can get.
Correct, correct. And that is a very important point you make, Aditya ji, which is to say, see, and sometimes people are always biased towards what they do, right? So that is there. So even sometimes a sannyasi may try to give a impression that yes, all attain the same goal, but sannyasi attains bit more. I mean, and then the grihastha may feel the same way. It is not even actually really a fight, but
No
people may
fight.
turn it into a fight, right? It is to find out like, oh, what is that story again? That is a made up story, but Birbal and story kind of thing. Which weapon is the most useful or most important? And the answer is whatever you have in your hand at that time. If you right, even a stick might be useful because that's the only thing you have. There is no point saying nuclear weapon is the most important if you don't have it, right? But let me share a cartoon. Like, you started with that thought, and so this is someone created by um, I don't know the person's name, but a artist not far from where you are, by the way. Someone in California,
Uh-huh.
of course, of Indian origin, and so you talked about Chaturvarnya Sannyasi and all, not to do the one-on-one correspondence, but I loved this, and actually I posted it this morning. Somebody sent it to me, so I don't know if you can translate that. Samay ne kaisi karvat liye, how the game changes. If you know this, going back to Prime Minister Modi when he, the going back what now, eight, how many years? 7 years,
Yes.
2014, that time, right? And oh, I forgot the person's name from Congress party, Manishankar Iyer or something. He's made a comment about the chai wala, right? He can serve tea at the Congress meeting or something. And we're not talking politics, but politics surrounds us, so we have to be conscious of it. But I love this. It says, like, so, somebody is collecting the leaves, the chai wala thing, how it is done. Then somebody is making a tea, other person is serving a tea, and no, Prime Minister Modi ji is enjoying the tea. No, I thought just from a creativity perspective, something very fascinating. And we have done this before. Um, that karma, that karma comes into all these categories. The karma is can be so sannyasi. We talk four ashram, right? So brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, they all are doing karma, but the emphasis changes. So what I find beautiful about this, so I just happen to have these four quadrants, so I'm using it because I don't have that slide on a varna and ashrama. But think of it, we also talk of a four varna and four ashrama. And how does that happens? They all do the karma and they all also do the jnanarjan, but the emphasis changes. So same thing when we look at the, based on that, we now see the yugas, right? So sometimes the emphasis on a jnana and sometimes emphasis is on a karma. So one more thing I wanted to show there was Bhishma. So Bhishma was, the Mahabharata was a Dwapar Yuga. It was the end of Dwapar Yuga. But what is interesting is how your work. I had just another program with someone else, Madhu Kishwarji, and we talked about the Yuga and Kali Yuga. So I had this slide, and I thought I will bring it up. So she asked the question, I think that's where we ended, which is on a free will versus destiny. And I suggested that she can invite Ashwini, my wife. Now she gets so busy that anytime when the program is over and I go and tell Ashwini, hey, you might get a call from someone, she says, why are you making me busier? But the anytime how the yuga will look like, or anytime what we accomplish, it is our past bank balance, past destiny, which is the past karma balance, and what we create. So people don't have to think like, oh, but I mean, I see this on Twitter, Aditya, and it really not depresses me, it irritates me. Like when people asking when the Kali Yuga is ending. Okay. And Madhuji asked the question today, and I did give an answer, and she liked it. So I know she won't ask that question. But on the Twitter, like when is Kali? As soon as I say Kali Yuga began on 2nd November 5561 BCE, which is a fact, okay, supported by evidence from everywhere, from Mahabharata, but also from Purana Grantha, from everywhere. But immediately they ask the question, when is going to end? And I say, well, that depends on our knowledge of how long the Kali Yuga is going to last. And in that context, I'm saying this, that we can choose. It is up to us also to some extent, not 100%, but actually a significant portion. Bhagavad Gita talks of adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prathak vidam vividhascha prathak cheshta daivam chevatra panchamam. If you take that last 20% daivam chevatra panchamam, adhishtan, karta, we as a whole, our what goal we decide, how big a goal we decide, how small a goal we decide, what we are going to willing to work on us, what different areas we make ourselves develop expertise, and what different paths we take, what different endeavors we involve ourselves in, that can make a difference. That can make a difference to you yourself as an individual, to your family, to your community, to your neighborhood, to your society, to the Rashtra, in this case, say India, and of course, to the whole world, right? I mean, just speaking of Earth, to Prithvi. So the Bhishmacharya is given some, and the whole descriptions are beautiful. Bhishmacharya, when he was ruling on behalf of sons of help me, Satyavati, right, Chitravidi and all, when because they were young. I mean, he's also a son of Satyavati, but now he's ruling on behalf. The way he was ruling, and this is something such a good description. Again, we are talking, why not read Vedas? Veda also have a description of Raja, the kings and all that. But it comes in such an abstract form, we struggle even to understand the meaning, what to speak of using it as a guidance to live our life. But not so in Mahabharata. If you read in the Mahabharata, Bhishma, this is such a positive message. Bhishma, this is Dwapar Yuga time as we understand it, based on even the Mahabharata. But the way Bhishma was ruling the kingdom, was administering the Kuru kingdom, that, if you look at the verse number 5 here, he brought Kruta Yuga. Okay, Krutam Yugam, I mean, arrival of a Kruta Yuga. Same thing we see with Parshurama. So I think that's very important point as it relates to the Krutya, as we relate to the Krutya. So we don't have to. I mean, I have a few slides, but we can talk about something else. So free will versus destiny. It is us who have to do it, and 80% is in our hand. Now, something beautiful about that 80%, Adityaji, is if you have heard the Pareto principle, like, Pareto chart, they usually, what do they say? 80-20 rule, right? This is 80-20 rule. Even in a Swadharma, Swakarma, Karma, it is a 80-20 rule. 80% is in your hands. Many people are saying, "Arey bhai, Bhagwan kab aa raha hai? Kali." See, these are very irritating and very, what you call, very ignorant questions. Like, when Kali Yuga is ending and also when Kalki is coming. I mean, kind of similar. Well, whether Kalki will come or not also depends on how we are behaving. Right? So 80% is in our hand. Again, Bhagavad Gita is again very good on that. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam. So Bhagwan comes, yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. He comes to do paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam. So to kill the miscreants, yes, he comes, but to also save the sadhus.
The first is to save the sadhu.
Right? First thing is save the sadhus. Yeah. Now, if there are no sadhus worth saving, Krishna says that's fine. Dushkrut people can just rule in their own kingdom, and that's perfectly fine, which is a very important point to understand.
The example for Kali Yuga given in Mahabharata and other places, the Raja will become like Dasyu. The word uses Dasyu, means Daku. And they will loot the citizens. So all the sadhus will run into the forest. That is the description. We already see, like, even if you are a good sadhu, you don't get media publicity nowadays. So the people who get the media publicity are the other way around. Now, in the karma question, which is such an important question. Now, if you look at, when people ask why the West is prosperous and why the India, which follows Sanatan Dharma, is not so prosperous. Now, there are many reasons for that. One is colonization looted India. Secondly, Indians forgot that they have the capability through political ways. Like, for example, last 70 years of Indian political establishment never made India self-reliant. Like, India has all the engineering skills. Indian engineers run NASA, Indian engineers run the American medical system, Indian doctors run the American medical system, British medical system. But in India, they are not successful. So the last 70 years, not only they were made to forget what they are, and somebody called it the Hindu rate of growth. Now, I asked them question, Islamic rate of growth. Tell me which 57 countries are prosperous? Which ones? All are bankrupt. If Pakistan was India, I'm telling you, Pakistan would be the richest province of India, state of India, because it has fertile land. Correct. But because it is ruled by idiots, now they have destroyed that land. The only solution for Pakistan is to bring back the Hindu ethos or Sanatan Dharma back. Mahabharata was spoken there. Rishi Purusha was there. So yes, it is the West is successful. They looted, but also there is a rule of law, and the good work is rewarded. In India, good work is never rewarded. You and I can be partially successful, but if you were in India, probably we would not be. What do you say?
You opened a can of worms there. I was going to say, see, in all modesty or factual thing, I would say, I have great admiration for people in India, some very original individuals, and I don't mean just the research people, like what you see now in people really given with the Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan, who truly deserves now. I mean, somebody doing something for ecology, and they're not using these big words, right? It's just amazing against what adversity these guys are doing. They absolutely deserve, and the current Indian administration should be congratulated for taking that into account, right? I mean, giving the prize, giving these awards, what you call Padma awards, really to who deserve. Now, granted, there will be some errors that will be made. It was again, not going into politics, but I do want to bring, it was BJP only who gave Bharat Ratna to Amartya Sen. I mean, what a tragedy and what a disaster. Okay, so some errors will always happen. I mean, that we cannot simply eliminate. I mean, that is to be understood. But what was your question, Aditya ji? Sorry, what was your last point when you said, like, what you want to ask me? I forgot.
That the rewarding of the good talent in India is
Uh,
very rare.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So ability to do. So I would say that's where I was going, and I digress. The whatever little work, original work that I have accomplished, it began there. I know. I mean, I remember exactly when it began, and I'm
All
not
of
talking
both of
90.
us. Yeah. Yes.
90, even way before. I'm talking, I mean, when I was in India, but also like I remember me being a 10-year-old and what I was doing, and 12 years old and studying Eknath's Bhagavad Puran. Not that I understood it necessarily, but I said, if somebody has written this thick grantha, the bare minimum I can do is read it, for heaven's
Correct.
sake, you know,
Correct.
right? So it started kind of there. And of course, Vinoba's books and all. But what little I have accomplished, I will tell you, and I'm thankful. I would say I'm thankful to the infrastructure, thankful to the network, thankful to the resources of North America. I mean, I came to Canada and then USA. I will also tell you some of the things. I mean, you talked about the scarcity and the population, but even when that thing exists, and I understand the limitations of it, some of the things that people in India can easily change, or I'm not saying just people in India, I'm saying people of Indian origin, no matter wherever they are, and this applies to humanity, so every human being, not just Indians, is that in your simple behavior, you can choose to be pleasant, right? I'll tell you this. When I came to me and my friend, he was a senior to me. We both came to Canada at the same time from the same institute, very premier institute in India for chemical engineering, but Asia and the world. By the way, the institute I come to, just because I mentioned it, it was considered based on certain criteria like research publications per faculty and so on, number one for 20 plus years. Okay. I don't know what the status is today, but interesting. So we were considered here coming from a premier institute of India, but don't forget, at the end of the day, we are coming from a place where the resources are really at a stretch. We came to Canada and went to the my chemical engineering department. And I'm just saying how even if you don't have a resources, simple communication, human being interaction can be made pleasant, and that is something I learned here. Not that I did not learn in India. I did learn in India in a say religious or that cultural samskara sphere, but then you come into sort of a commercial world and it feels like, or the study world, and it feels like a competition, you know. Competition is good, but on a very unfair means. Here I'm digressing, but when I just entered, me and my friend, you know, the first day, like we have just landed in Canada the previous night. We are still in a jet lag, and we just go to the department to just see ourselves and what is what. The head of the department just sees us from a distance, that particular floor, walks us towards us. Guess what? From our biodata, whatever we might have sent, I forget, we must have sent a photo or so or whatever. He knows who is who, right? So he calls my name and says, "Welcome to University Department here, you know, the chemical engineering department." Greets my friend. He says, "I'm so very happy to receive you." Okay. And see, he might have just said it as a normal behavior in a Canadian institute. But to me, at that time, it was very important. You know, I said, "Oh, I am like literally the guy with a suitcase and less than $700 borrowed from someone just coming here." And he's saying, what a prestigious thing for his department, his institute, that someone like me is coming. The reason I say that is, over the next few years, and now I notice it, how easy it is to access what you want. See, here, if I have to go to Emory University, I mean, where I did my MBA, so I have 100% access as an alumni there to the library. how easy it is to access it, how easy it is to bring the books. Like I can bring 200 plus books. They can be here forever practically, unless somebody does it. Our India doesn't have that infrastructure. So my point is, therefore, I really appreciate what they do there. And just to close that, sorry, I took a long time. Close that, what you said, I would completely agree that what little I have accomplished, truly, I feel, at least in my limited understanding, it became possible because I was researching in North America. I don't know if I was in India, how much of that I would have accomplished, okay, or how much support I would have received.
Yes, if you look at the record of India since 2014, and people criticize a lot, but if you look at before 2014, the period between 2010, 20, the period between 2004 and 2014 was the period of hopelessness in India, complete
I
down
agree.
spiral. Now, since
Absolutely.
2014, India has grown like some. If American asked me today that would you have migrated today, I said
Hmm.
never, not today.
Hmm.
Then
Hmm.
today I would have stayed in India. But
Hmm.
but they but that period was such hopelessness. But between
Hmm.
2014 and now,
Yeah.
in defense,
Yeah.
in economics, in the image of India in the globally, and really Chanakya Arthashastra is being followed.
Yeah.
Chanakya Niti. So
Right.
India has emerged and gained respect, and for
Hmm.
that we must give credit to this government also, because they have really brought up the morale of Indians as a whole,
On
and
every front. On
on
every
every
front.
on every
Yeah.
front, you know.
Yeah. In fact, let me make a couple of points and we can stop also. Now that you said it, the people who are watching, some of them will just very casual and careless fashion will jump and call us, both of us, like a BJP supporter, in the sense of we are just eulogizing the BJP. Just recently, the
But the
Prime Minister.
numbers speak it. Numbers speak it.
Yeah,
Numbers
yeah.
are there. Yeah.
Yeah, but people have a very micro, myopic vision. Like just recently, just few days ago, when was that? 13th in December, Prime Minister Modi ji opened the Kashi Vishwanath corridor, right?
Beautiful.
And the group, yeah, and the group that I belong to, and you are aware of it, the Pracham team, they did a wonderful documentary. Now, some people watching that documentary, of course, many are, I mean, majority is praising it and totally enjoying it. But see, it is an opening of a Kashi Vishweshwar corridor by Prime Minister. And some people, in their myopic vision, they think, oh, the Pracham is now has become a mouthpiece for BJP. or a prime minister, and all you can do is just chuckle and laugh at the ignorance of these people, right? So this is goes back to, see, if you give somebody a rabdi, I don't know if our American audience would understand rabdi, but evaporated milk is not even a good one, but some
Condensed.
condensed milk, some very like what is that, the dulce de leche, they will
Yeah.
understand that dulce de leche, think of that. Now some person complains the dulce de leche he cannot digest, and skim milk, then you said have skim milk, and he says, oh, it doesn't taste better.
Hmm.
This is a foolishness, right? So when somebody is doing good, irrespective of the forget politics, political boundaries, forgetting political boundaries, something that is going good, we should celebrate it, we should
Absolutely.
praise it, right? So that is what exactly my team was doing, and my team is happy. We don't care what people say.
You know, I
Good.
visited Kashi in 2015 during the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas.
Hmm.
2015.
Hmm.
I think 2018 or 2015. Yeah. I
Okay.
visited Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, and I visited and I saw your video and I saw other videos.
Hmm.
Mind blowing. That's it. I
Yeah.
can say. I have no other words for that. Now, the Shastra says one who
Hmm.
criticizes too much is
Hmm.
Ishalu.
Is
One who
what? Is what?
Ishalu.
Is
And one who praises too, Shukdev Goswami is saying, one
hmm.
who praises too much is Pakhandi.
Interesting. Interesting on that. So very good. Extreme is bad, right? That's what
It is
that's
bad.
what you're saying. Let
Exactly.
me let me share one slide on this, and we can stop. I know you have something coming up, and I have to get to the next appointment also. Um, this is a quote from Joseph Campbell, a great American. Okay, very useful, very insightful quote. you talked about the extremes. Now, this wasn't planned. I mean, to our audience, we should say, Aditya ji and we were not planning some slides or something, but we talked of an extreme. Let me just quickly read the quote. Half the people in the world think that the metaphors of their religious traditions are facts, and the other half contends that they are not facts at all. The extremes, think of it. One takes something so literally that they are not willing to use their brain. That is where these very dull questions comes. When is Kali Yuga ending, and when is the Kalki avatar coming? And I, Aditya ji, I use your platform to say this because I want to take that message to people. In fact, if they ask me this question on a Twitter or even a Facebook, but Twitter, because Twitter has that functionality, they should know if they ask that question to me and they refuse, they follow me, they may be following me, may not be following me, but they refuse to listen to our talks, they refuse to read my books, my blogs, watch my videos, they can be assured that they are going definitely on my mute list, which means to say I'm not going to see their next comment. I'm not interested. I do not want to reward laziness. I do not want to reward stupidity. That's why I'm bringing this quote. And the other half contains that they are not facts at all. So what do we create? We create either the atheist, zombies, leftist, or the zombies on the other side. Okay. As a result, we have people who consider themselves believers because they accept metaphors as facts. Okay. And we have others who classify themselves as atheists because they think religious metaphors are lies. What are metaphors? This is a drushtanta. In a Nyaya Darshana tradition, it is a drushtanta which is Krishna makes use of it so much. It is a drushtanta to be made use of to explain a complex point. That's why Bhagavad Gita uses drushtanta to explain Vedas. Right. I'll stop on that, and you have the last word, and we can stop.
You made a very good point here, and also the one point I'll just make before we stop: the aping the West on everything and forgetting our own culture. There can be no bigger stupidity because the West is now moving towards spirituality, which is only in Sanatan Dharma, not towards dogmatism, which is in Abrahamic culture. So stop doing that. And if you are trying to convert to any of the Abrahamic faith, I'm telling you, it's a contest of dumb, dumber, and dumbest. Correct. So don't dumbify yourself. If you're a smart guy, focus on Bhagavad Gita. If you want to become dumb, then take any other thing you want. Everything else is available free. And for Kalki Avatar, please don't wait for it. Before that, do good karma and get out of it. Because Kalki Avatar's purpose is totally different. And Mahabharata says it very clearly. He's not going to come on a horse or a talwar. He'll use the weapons which are available during that time. And I'm telling you, it will be very different than what weapons we have today. So with that, we'll end the show. And thank you, Nilesh ji. And thank you for people from local universities who have joined today. And also on YouTube, do comment on it. That's more important. Namaste.
Namaskar.